Hey everybody, how you doing today? Apologize if my voice is a little rough. Been sick earlier this week. It's been difficult. All right. How are things going today? Need to get chat up. So, where were we at last week? We were working on Vulkan issues. Oh no, I gotta log into this thing. Not fully prepared, everybody. So yeah, we were working on Vulkan issues, and in particular, I think we cracked. It was dumb. We cracked the case of we don't have unit tests for for save as PNG or save as JPEG, which meant that my tests, which were testing that worked, or we're using that to figure out whether the image was different, found that wasn't working at all, and that was what causing the bug. I think someone submitted some unit tests for that, but I don't have fixes for them yet. So I'm going to try to apply the fixes today and get that committed as well. So let's get our chat up. Let me know if, music or voice or anything is too loud. I appreciate it. I'm sure I'm not muted, right? Yes, I'm not muted. That's good. Okay, well, on-screen chat does not want to work today. That's interesting. I wonder why. Okay, well, guess there'll be no on-screen chat today. For whatever reason, it is not working. All right. Let us get things set up here. Okay, well, that's not what I wanted. All right, there we go. That's what I wanted. Okay, and of course the music didn't loop by default. So annoying. Why is it that I have to always tell it that I want it to loop? One day I'll remember that. All right, let's share my screen and get this thing started. All right, so this is basically where we were at last time. Get my text back up to size. You guys need big size text. And what I was going to do real quick is go to our issues and not issues, it was a pull request somebody came up with for some unit tests. Yep. MG Hoffman came up with some unit tests for us, which is great. I think I should probably go ahead and merge this. I mean, it has no fixes, but it's running the unit test, which is good enough. And I think it did pass, right? Oh no, we have like an issue with our Mac build at the moment. I remember that came up. There's something going on with the Mac automated build that keeps it from running successfully. I guess Dean or Dom or Simon, if you're on, like, let me know whether this should be merged, or I guess if it should be merged, you guys should merge it. I think it's a good thing. It adds these unit tests in, which we desperately need to verify some things, but also, but I don't know what to do since the thing is, the Mac build is fixed. Okay, let me update the branch, let it rebuild. So I was told the Mac build was fixed, so rebasing this PR will fix it and get it to build, and we can merge it in later. I'll move that off screen. We'll get back to this. So we were here and we were running this unit test. Where was it? Graphics. Or we were actually testing, which one was it? It was the multi-sample one, I think. Which one was it? I guess it was device manager tests or fixture tests. Yeah, this one. We're running those, I guess. Right. I think actually the reason was that we found that these now have errors. Let's run that one again. Oh, I really hate it when it does that. When it runs properly when you run them individually, but not when you run them together. Don't like that at all. I've seen that happen before. I'll run all of them. Yeah, that really bothers me. Let's see, what is it? Of course, this is in a tiny window. Create device failed. I wonder if it's trying to run these things concurrently. I don't know if that thing actually runs concurrent or not. I mean, this definitely makes it hard to test when it does this. I've seen this happen before. No occlusion queries are broken. Generate MIPS we know is broken. What test is this? MSA enabled. So this test is successful now, even though it wasn't previously. But wait, is it successful? I guess we're not doing the check anymore, so I need to double check that. I think what we found was we were putting the test back to where it was, so that it was doing what we expected it to do. Let's go look at the output that generates, because that's how we were verifying how it worked, was that the output was correct. So we come up here to artifacts and tests and test.bk and desktop and captured frames, and it was graphics device manager tests. Wait, no, it wasn't that one. It was something miscellaneous. Nope. Or I was just outputting it to a specific folder. I forgot about that. I hate that Windows doesn't fix those automatically. It's dumb. There it goes. So yeah, we were getting transparency, which is, because the unit test it's failing in here, and it was because of MSA stuff. I should definitely write notes after I do run these, just so that I can see what the heck was failing for me last time and continue without having to go through all this. So yeah, we were having trouble when we went through here. It was having issues somewhere here, was dumping out a bunch of DK checks. one of these was dumping out a bunch of issues, if I remember correctly. I think it was here. Nope. Oh, no, it actually did it. Wait, is it doing it twice? Interesting. Here's the image. Okay, it actually rendered. But what is it doing now? Oh, it's running 2 cases. That's what's happening. Aha, I forgot about that. So what's happening is, okay, stop doing that. What's happening is that when I run this guy from here and say, hey, debug and run these tests, it's going to run 2 tests. The first test, that false, it renders fine. It's when it's true that it does not render fine. So let's do a couple things here. Let's let it continue. I want to fix my test here to dump out 2 different files. Okay, so when I run this now, it's going to run 2 tests. That's why the other day when we were running through this, it was running, and then it's like, wait, I saw it for just a second. It flashed that image on, and it was working. So what happened? What happened was it was running 2 tests, and I didn't realize that. I was assuming it was running 1 test. So if we compare these 2 now, we can see the problem. So this is with MSAA off. This is MSAA on. One isn't working, one is. And this is doing the right thing. MSAA off, it's giving us this. So we need to figure out what's happening over here. So we need to run the false case. How do I tell it to do that? I guess I can just do this for right now. And I'm sorry, we want to run the true case. Let's give it that for right now. And then that will always run the true case. And that'll let us, when we debug this time, we should see Vulkan issues. Yes, we do. A crash and some different things. Okay. So somewhere here or somewhere down below in rendering, it's going to give us some issues. So let's see where it is. All right. I like to clear the output here as I'm going to make it easier to spot things. Okay, everything's good so far. No Vulkan issues. Okay, that's the first time we have some Vulkan issues. So that gives me a hint as to what's going on. So when we clear, it finally has some issues, and this is where it actually has problems. That'll kind of take me in the first pass. Okay. Validation error, resolve attachments. Attachment samples is sample count 4 referenced in this. If Vulkan spec states if resolve attachments is not null, then resolve attachments that is not decay and used must have sample count of 1. My brain is having trouble deciphering what that means. It's not null. Oh, it's because it's the resolve. Yeah, it's the resolve. It's saying, oh, you're going to resolve. Well, you can only resolve to a single bit for the resolve case. You can't resolve to multi-sample buffer. I think that's what it's trying to tell me. Let's go look. So if it's MSAA, it's going to resolve to this. This is outside of that, right? Yeah. I suspect. Let's do the not pass for this resolve attachments. See what happens if we do that. Just curious. I suspect that maybe I don't need to do that. Maybe. We'll see. I could be totally wrong. Could be we need to do it a special way, but I'm just wondering whether we need to do it at all. I'm just going to run it real quick blind. Let's let this thing update. Okay, didn't fix anything. Okay. As expected, it couldn't. Usually it's not that easy, but it could have been, I guess. So I'm going to debug again. We know we don't need any of these breakpoints. We just need this one. Clear, misstep. Let's see what it says now. Oh, it didn't. Damn it. I really need to solve that. If I don't change the C# code and the native code, it doesn't update the native binary, which is really annoying. Okay, I'm just going to run it blind once. Okay, let's see what happens here. Nothing. Okay, still the same result. At least now we know it updated it. So now I'm going to debug. Pull P0 lock. Anyways, hello. Okay, same issue? No. Okay, maybe I need to set that to 1 bit. Let's go take a look. Is there something more here that we're not setting? No. Num attachments layout. Let's see. Trying to understand why it's doing this twice here. But this is outside this loop. I assume that's a loop. Yeah, it's doing this outside this loop. Okay, let's go back just to setting this to single bit. Oh. Because this is what it was before here. And I'll be the first to admit I have no clue what I'm doing here. I'm just figuring it out as I go. I'm just going with the if I fix the Vulkan complaints from the validation layer, then I might get a result that works. That might not be the best approach, but we'll see. All right, let's see if this changes anything. Nope, same result. Let's run it debug again. See what it says now. It says okay, so if the flags do not include frame buffer imageless bit, each of the Attachments must be created with a sample value that matches the sample value specified in the corresponding BT description in the render class. So that has to match. Okay, so that has to match. Cheeky Biscuits, hello. What are you making? I'm not making anything. I'm fixing some unit tests on our Vulkan implementation of MonoGame that's having some problems with MSAA right now. P0 Lock. Kudos to all the great work. I really enjoyed MT back when I last tried it. Thank you. You should try it again sometime. We have a lot of stuff coming. Let's see. I was going to run this in debug again. And see if I can figure out what's happening here with this. So I'm stepping. Okay, so I have one error. Okay, wait. Because I didn't fix that back. Let's fix that back. Let's put this back. Let's go back to the original issue. Let's do this actually. I'm going to do let's see if there's the Vulkan implementation says for this. We could potentially do that. I don't know if what that will do to us here, but we'll see. It's important to avoid writing multi-sample attachments back to memory if they're not going to be needed after rendering the scene. This means that the multi-sample attachment must use store op, store don't care, and usage transient attachment bit. Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to do here. Resolve color on right package. Resolve attachments with the single sample attachment that we want multi-sample delivery resolved to. Okay. we want to go back to this. Wait, do we want to do that? I'm not sure. See if I can find this sample. No, teachable. Help. All right, let's dig into this sample. Awesome. I love a single file sample. This is the best. You'd be amazed how many times I've worked with sample code from different platforms, in particular some console platforms, when instead of just making, here's a sample, it's one header, you know, or one source file, and it tries to limit the amount of, you know, framework code that they use. That's really always really annoying if they stick a ton of framework code in there, because it's like you have to understand their framework in order to make it work. So let's get back to this. So here we're doing update render pass. All this is in order to make is to build a begin render pass. Oh no, they have a wait a second. Is that where it's coming from? Let me double check. Yeah, this is from create frame buffer. Okay. Of course, we don't have a create frame buffer in here. Oh no. It's one of these again. Create info. Let's see if this is in here at least. Nope. That'd be too easy. Nope. All right. Simon, Tom. Nope. Spam. Not creating the render target. Update pipelines. It's closer to what we're doing right now. Okay. All right, so we're almost. It'd be really nice to know what load store was. BKB load store info. That's their higher level thing. Cool guy 9616. Keep up the good work. Thanks. We're trying. That's really weird. Okay. Save result attachment. Okay, so I want to store on the resolve attachment, but I don't want to on the multi-sample target. Okay. Interesting. All right. I think I'm starting to understand what's happening here. Okay, so if I come back to my attachments, let's try that. Let's try that. So I think that's what it's suggesting. I think. We'll see. It's easier to test and see than to spend a lot of time thinking about it. Dominique Lomscombe, hi. Hi, how you doing? Let's see. All right, so that built. Let's test it. Okay, gonna clear, gonna step. Issues. Okay, so yeah, that's not gonna. Fine, just struggling after the death of my cat. Nope, sorry about that. That sucks. Okay. Let's put that back and let's see with the attachment, if store op don't care, let's see what kind of result that gives me. Because I don't think this code is completely off base. It could be that it's completely off base. That is not fun. Let's see. Question. I've got a question. I'm creating a game, and after compiling, I've got tons of exceptions shown in the debug logs. Culture not found exception in Core Live. Do you have the same on your computer? I don't have the same on my computer, but that issue actually sounds familiar. I can swear that we had somebody have this issue the other day. Okay, not there. It could be in discussions. Nope. It could be in the community site. I swear that's what it was. Sworn that that's what it was. This recently came up. I've seen this come up once before, and I don't know where I saw it. Kudos for not using LLMs. Yeah, I try to avoid it. I don't trust them fully. I sometimes use them to cut down on search. Like I will use ChatGPT to kind of point me in the right direction as far as questions. Like I think I put the division at like, it's fine to go into a library, find a bunch of books, read them, understand them, and then go write your own book. That's fine. What you can't do is go into a library, get a book, and then just scratch out somebody's name and write your own. And that's how I see LLMs, is like, I don't say, hey, LLM, build me a code for multi-sample anti-aliasing using Vulkan, thanks, and it dumps some code and I cut and paste it in my code. I don't do that. What I might do is say, hey, ChatGPT, I want to better understand how attachments work in Vulkan when using MSAA, and see what it tells me and learn from it. I look at it as a way to cut information to learn, and not as a way to generate code for me. Because one, I don't think it generates code all that well. Anything bigger than a simple line of code, it usually does things wrong or something odd. So I just don't trust it, combined with all the other issues. Yeah, so Dominique, your issue, I swear I've seen that before, but I can't find it at the moment. I'm not sure. It's definitely something that's come up. I would suggest, posting either into discussions or into our community site. And I know that someone's run into that before. Sorry I couldn't help better in there. Yeah. LLMs are good to replace Google, because Google's been pretty bad for a while. Like, even things like this. They started to do this AI thing at the top, but, sometimes, I guess it's not happening at the moment, but a little while ago when I did a search, like the first couple said sponsored. They keep putting sponsored results because they make money from sponsored results. If they did a shift sometime back of like, well, if the results from search are a little bit worse and we make some money, that's okay. And, that's not okay with me. I come to Google to find answers, and it's become where you can't use it to find answers. You find a lot of things that are not relevant, which is the thing that bothers me about it. And I've just stopped using it because of it. They've lost trust. So yeah. Okay. Let's let's see, where were we at with this? I'm gonna have to really step back and like look at this code in detail and really understand what's missing here to really get through this. So I'm a little bit at a loss here for this case. I think that I might need to step away from this one, at least for now, until I get some time to study it a little closer. Because I don't want to spend this entire stream kind of struggling on this one issue, and it's not a good time on stream to sit here and read documentation and try to figure things out that in that much detail. So I'm going to put a pin in this one, and let's go see if we can hit one of the other unit tests. I mean, I know that we can fix the other cases. In fact, how did that thing go? Oh, that thing actually succeeded. So let's approve this thing, merge it, get it pulled in here, and verify that this works under Vulkan. Okay, so we're good. I'm going to squash and merge these unit tests. Okay, so these unit tests are squashed and merged and added in there. I'm going to pull them into here. I don't know what branch I'm on. Okay. I'm going to stash my current stuff. Oh, I should probably stop this. Stash my current stuff. I'm going to check out develop. Fetch my upstream stuff. Going to merge stream develop. I'm going to push that to my branch, or to my fork. Okay, so now I'm going to merge develop into here. I don't know if I pushed this yet. Okay. All right, there's our unit test there. Added in. Oh. Proper stash. No problems. Nope. All right. I'm going to do a rebuild. Yep, Michael, I just merged your tests. They seem fine to me. It's what we needed. So I'm going to test it against Vulkan right now and see what's going on with it. I'm sure it's going to fail, and I'll have to fix those issues, and that'll make it easier to test other things in the future. I'm going to leave this off. I'm not going to worry about this right now. MSA is not working properly anyways, so... Let's see, where did those tests go? I think they were in texture stuff, right? Yep, there they are. All right, save as PNG works. I think save as JPEG is going to fail, because I didn't fix that case. Yep, there we go. Awesome. Let's go fix those cases. And I'm sure it's the same thing, the same sort of thing. If I remember correctly, was because, yeah, so right, PNG had this, it was missing this for the stride. And I bet this has a similar thing that's looking for a stride. No, it's not looking for a stride. Right? Is that the right one? Yeah, because I was looking at this before. Let's see if I can see what the problem is on this one. So this one says it's a pretty big tolerance difference on that at pixel 0. Interesting. I mean, I wonder, I don't know where the quality comes from this. Let's debug it real quick and see what happens. Quality set to a high quality. It's always a question of like, well, what quality should it be? Hard to say. We're right about the data, right? Yeah, it is color data. Okay, so 100, 149, 237. Put a watch right here. What do you like about that? I'm surprised. That used to expand things like an array. Okay, whatever. Probably do this easier ways, but probably done that in order. Yeah, it's got some weird results. So yeah, that result's totally different by a lot. I'm going to grab the first bit of these. Grab the first 100 pixels. Grab the first 100 pixels, push them into Beyond Compare. Okay, it is still thinking. Just 100 pixels, guys. What the heck? You'd think that I copied 1,000,000 pixels. Michael saying, tolerance I chose was 35. I think it was an arbitrary to pass the test cases I made. So changing it might be appropriate. I mean, maybe. I guess I don't know enough about the inner details. Okay, I got to cancel that. That's taking forever. It's going to grab the first, 25 pixels, let's say. That should be enough for it not to complain, I think. I'm going to paste that in here. And I'm going to grab the other side. These guys, expected pixels. I'm going to grab the first 25 of it. Just to compare these two. And get a kind of bird's eye of what's happening here. Looks very different. Even like the alpha isn't preserved. And that is weird, right? Like, that tells me something is wrong. Like is it an order? I wonder if it's going from like RGB to BGR or something like that. And that is a really rude result. I mean, it is, I mean, this sort of makes sense. That case makes sense. This might make sense. That first one does not make sense to me. I might need to actually dump these out and visually compare them to really know, if the result makes sense to me. Let's do that real quick, because that's pretty easy to do. Now that I know the PNG test works right, I can dump it out as PNG and use that as a comparison, right? I do on the other test. I was doing this. Little slashers are dumb. Oh, can't do it that way. What was I doing? I was doing that. I see. It's still so weird that I have to pass the size in here. It's like, you know what size it is. Is it expecting it to be resized down? I bet that doesn't even work properly. Yeah, the fact that the alpha channels, I mean, I guess the results do show 255 on everything, even though this one comes in as not 255. But maybe that's a correct result. I don't know for sure. So run that real quick. Just want to verify that this dumped out what I expected. Okay, don't know if that is what it should be. But that's what it's getting. Interesting pattern. And then I'm going to dump out the uncompressed one. Actually, I can just use come on. Okay, so now I can see what's going down. So Yeah, it's doing some. I mean, it looks like it's doing the right thing, but it's definitely done something with the is it the quality level? Is it just bad for? I mean, at least it's not like altered the transparency or anything. I mean, maybe with something like this is the best JPEG can do. That doesn't sound right though. I mean, I can verify that, I guess. Just open up Paint here. I can take my uncompressed, which is this pattern, and save as JPEG. I can do the same thing, 90%. Oh, look at that. It already looks different, right? Aha, so there is a difference that can be made. Best compression gives us something that looks very similar to what we're getting over here. Yeah, it does look desaturated, but what's interesting is taking the original image and running it through like paint.net and saying compress it, quality 90%, so very high quality with best compression, and it generates this. It's desaturated. I mean, I'll save it, but you're going to see that it looks like it's generating something very similar to the this is our compressed version, and then oh, sorry, compressed, and this is the one that came out of or out of paint.net, and it's not all that dissimilar. I think what we're seeing is differences of, see how that pixel is very much the same. It's very, very similar. So yeah, it's just how I think it's just how it perceives it. Mesmodev. Yeah. Hello, I'm learning MonoGame to make my game, and I have a question about sprite fonts. How can I use legally? Do I have to pay Microsoft for font license? Thanks in advance. Generally, with most fonts, if you're using, like with sprite font, since you're rasterizing the font to an image, or that's what sprite font does in MonoGame, you generally don't have to pay a license for that, I believe, in that case. Like if you go to a sign shop and make a sign and it uses a font, you generally don't have to pay for that license to use that font, except in cases where the fonts are not like part of Windows. I think in those cases, you at least need to own one license to make a reproduction of that. So like if you go to any font site and pick up a font, usually they charge you something for the font, for usage in print or electronics. It's only when you start using it, I believe, where you ship the font with the game that it becomes trickier. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but that's just my experience, so maybe that helps. Let's see. So I think the issue here is, I think it's doing the right thing. I don't think it's actually failing. I think that it's the perceived results. And is this doing anything about alpha? I guess it's just looking at RGB. Let's go look at our implementation here again. It just has a single quality setting. I don't think it has any more options as far as the quality. Let's just try one other thing here. Let's try giving it 100% quality. see what kind of result you get. Now, aha, look at that. 100% quality. It gives us a very, very similar image. So yeah, it's the quality setting is altering the result, essentially. Yeah, I guess the question is like, well, you know, maybe I need to up the default quality setting just a bit, enough to make it match, and leave it at that. You know, so Dev, so thanks. It doesn't embed the font in the project in a traditional way, right? Yes, it does not. The sprite font by default does not embed the font. It makes it, you tell it what characters to include. It pre-renders them at the size that you want, which is a problem, or it can be a problem, but that's how it does it right now. We're actually talking about doing a bounty for a better font system that generates, you know, that works a couple different ways. One works at runtime with an actual embedded font file, and also can be used at build time. But instead of generating just a regular texture, it can generate an SDF texture so that we get sharper fonts, and you don't have to make fonts for different sizes. So we're working on that improvement. Okay, so that's moving it to 95%. Is that what I did? Yeah. Let's go to 92 and see what we get. Well, let's go back to 90 real quick. That fails. And you can see, you know, the file size is still, wait. Well, the file size there doesn't matter. Yeah, that file size is relevant, really. But that's really interesting. The original uncompressed PNG is this size. The compressed original that it generates is much, much bigger. It's weird. I wonder why. Anyways, let's see if we bump this a little bit here. It looks like there's a tolerance at where it starts generating something that's more accurate, and that looks like that's enough. So I think I'm just going to leave it like that. I think that's as good as it's going to get. It passes the test. It generates a more equal image. Who's to know? Who's to say whether it's correct again or not? But it produces a better image, so that might be the better solution, is just to do that. I mean, no one should be expecting JPEGs coming out of MonoGame like this to be optimal JPEGs. You know, it's going to generate, so that fixes all the tests, and now everything works. So I think that's an acceptable solution. You know, what's the size of the file compared to the other? You know, I guess we could look at that real quick, huh? If I run debug this one, stream says that the length is what is it? Is that 2 megabytes? It's a pretty big image, but it is a 1024 by 1024 by 4, so that's a pretty big image. I mean, it should be 4 megabytes raw. So it's half the size, essentially, at 92. right? Where is it here again? 2 megabytes basically. 92. If I stop this, I just want to just double check it, just see if I go to 90, which is where I had it before, which it could be lower as well, but I just went to 90. See how much of a difference in file size it actually generates. That's a pretty significant difference in file size. You know, it loses a megabyte by just going from 90 to 92. Let's see what it goes. I mean, this is all fiddling with like the inner details of how this thing works. I do 91. Does it still pass, but it's still a pretty good size? Or is it, I think really for it to equal, it's going to have to lose some, you know, it's going to have to be a bigger file size, just period, end of story. Yeah. So 91 makes this image in particular equal. I'll leave it at that. That's the tightest we can get it. Let's see if everything else passes. If it does, 91% is the number. It's kind of a magic sauce, but it just makes the unit test pass, and we can verify everything's working, so that's good. I really wish I could tell Discord to stop doing that. You'd think if you say, hey, Discord, I'm going to close you, that it would go away. It does not. I'm going to end task Discord. Goodbye, Discord. All right. So where does that put us? Yeah, 91% is sort of a magic number that makes our unit tests pass with so, and that should be fine. I mean, I think generally most of these things output like a 90%, a pretty high percentage. You shouldn't be using this to generate like super accurate, correct, imagery as compressed as possible. It just doesn't have that. We could at some point maybe allow you to pass in the quality percentage for this. It just isn't part of the original API. If someone submitted a PR that added an optional argument for quality for this one in particular and passes it through with a default to 91%, I wouldn't have a problem with having that in the API. It wouldn't hurt anything. It would let people have a little bit more control over the results, and they could force a really low quality if they wanted to. But the default should produce, good tests for this. So anyways, all right, so I'm happy with that. So that fixes that. And that's good. I'm going to actually commit some of this stuff into our tests because we're getting progress. We're not going to do that yet. Okay, so we had some fixes here. Like some of this was kind of like cleanup. There we go. Seems like good message. That was just a test I was running, I think. Invert that. What was I doing here? Well, that was the generate MIPS case, which is one that I need to look into still. That can probably go away. It's going to clean up a couple things that I was messing with. This one is still a work in progress. I'm going to mess with that. This is going to go away since we fixed that case. All right, so where does this leave us? So at least those are fixed, and that might help us later. Draw rotated had a problem? No, we just fixed this. Okay, just want to make sure that that was working. Let's go look and see what other. Actually, let me just run all of them. Hopefully they run and they don't flip out. Just to get an updated picture of what's working, what isn't, so we can kind of reassess and see what else we could hit today. I have kind of a hard out today, long, busy day. Oh, great, it's doing that crap. Like everything after this gets broken, which is really annoying. I'm going to rerun these tests. It's like something about the fixture test that once it runs, everything else breaks. I mean, it definitely feels good to have these many unit tests working. It means that our whole implementation is getting better. But there are definitely some issues. The clues and query is a big one. I think this one is that generate MIPS, which might be one to look into. There's another one down here, though, I think that was maybe a little bit more straightforward to attack. I'd like to get a victory today, or at least a couple. You know, having those extra unit tests that Michael provided was great. Makes sure that at least our save, you know, our texture saving is correct. Problem. There are a lot of tests in there. 400 tests. That's a pretty good unit test setup. When I first started working on MonoGame back in, crap, it's been a very long time. I think it's like 2012 or 2013. I first started working on it. There were no unit tests. You know, we were kind of starting from scratch. Or I think there might have been some unit tests, very, very limited, or it just started that project. And then over time, we've built more and more unit tests, solving more and more issues. And it definitely helps having them. All right, so I'm curious what, no, those are fine. So generate MIPS is one, inclusion test is the other that was failing for some reason. I don't think it reported any Vulkan issues. Then vertex texture visual test, that's a good one maybe to jump into. Let's run that one again. Teardown failed. That's interesting. Interesting. All right. Oh, interesting. It does not. That test probably does not exist. I bet that texture does not exist. I can close some of these things now, I think. All right. You can go away. And you can go away. All right. We might have to generate that shader so that it has it. Just put those. Okay, so we only have the asset for one of them under the DirectX assets. Vulkan does not have it. We need one for Vulkan. Where'd it go? Come on, Windows. There we go. I mean, it should be building it. Because I actually have to run that. That sucks. And I need to run it with the latest tools, which sucks. What an easier thing is don't we have a unit test that actually builds that stuff? I think we do. Nope. Okay, I just gotta do the hard thing. Sucks, but I gotta do it. I'm going to build the tools. Come on, thing. Oh, interesting. Let's see. Yeah, I think we were depreciating that. I'm surprised that is that actually in the code base like that? No, this is local changes that I have. Because I was working on some GDK changes for upstream, specifically related to changes in Xbox. So it's kind of mixed in here, so that's why I was doing that. Anyway, so this build succeeded. Yeah, so I should be able to come in here to our artifacts and build your editor, which will be the easier way to do this. Yep, the data is correct. Nope. I'm going to open test assets. I'm going to open that. I'm going to build this. Awesome, failed. Vertex texture effect. Okay, well that'll do it. Oh, it doesn't. It hasn't been updated. Let's go look at that. What did we define for that? Back to here. Let's go look. I'm not sure what. I guess it would be. We define shader model 6 for Vulkan. I'm going to just stick to Vulkan because it'll be. Now, let's do SM6 because if that's defined, we might support that on multiple platforms. That'll make it a little better. This is part of the stuff that I want to get rid of completely. Is this bullshit? Like, none of this matters anymore. Like, this could go away, and when we build for a particular platform, for building for OpenGL, it can change the profile here and do whatever it's supposed to do. For building for DirectX, it can change the profile and do whatever it's supposed to do, automatically built, based on what platform you're targeting, and it's just going to do what it's supposed to do for those platforms. Only in the cases where it might help us could we potentially have a hint, but I think that this is all bullshit. It's just dumb garbage that we have to waste time on, and it doesn't actually fix anything. All right, let's build this again. Okay, vertex texture effect. Unknown type sampler 2D mean sampler. Okay, so this is where the new problems occur. We need to update these tests to support that. Normally, do we have any tests that already do this? A lot of times we have tests that automatically support this kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay, so we just need to fix it to support this. Some of these probably already do it. Yep. So let's fix vertex texture to work that way. So let's just do that. That'll fix that. And I think that, yeah, this is already handled. So I don't need to have this guy in here. I think the only other thing we need to do is we have to fix how we define our samplers. Oh, this isn't even done right here. I think that won't work still. We'll try it, but I don't think it's going to work. They got away with this because they don't have a sampler in that one. Whatever. Let's use the clear texture in here. That's how we were doing it, right? Sampler, simply name, registers. Yeah. I think that's what we were doing. be a trickier one. That's probably why this one wasn't converted, was because this is tricky. Pretty sure that's going to fail again. I want to first make sure that the other cases don't fail. I open DirectX. What? Maximum sample rate. I think it's because, yeah, because it's S. Oh, annoying. Okay, it's going to be easier just to do this manually, I think. It's annoying, but it's going to be easier to do manually. Just so that I don't break the other cases, and it works. This is all the stuff that I want to get rid of. I just don't want any of this junk. Yeah, exactly. I need that sampler state name, yeah. The problem is that I would need to continue to let this shader work in older versions, so I'm going to try to rewrite it just for shader model 6 for this. But this is the kind of differences that we've got to get rid of. You know, we're going to move to the new standard, you know, to the latest, you know, shader model, you know, how you would, the HLSL language model that you would use. So it would use, you know, sampler state dot, you know, sample kind of calls in order to do this stuff. But in order to do that, we need to really re-engineer how our shader system works to make that work right. Damn it. Fingers not working right. So we're going to keep our state. They can still do that. I think that's valid. Switch back and make sure this still builds. It should still build because I didn't change anything. S found. Wait, where is it seeing that? 52. This is what really drives me nuts as well. Like when it does this, oh, it's on line 52, but line 52 has nothing of the sort. It really bothers me when it does that. Or is it this? Is that the complaint? It might be the complaint. Okay. Yep, they're okay. So that's all correct. It was a missing semicolon that gave me an error down here. I hate it when the compiler does that. All right, so I need to fix this. So I need to do a text2d equivalent in shader model 6. This is where spell equivalent. Okay, sample level. That's the trick. So we're going to do height map sampler, or no, text. We're going to do height map texture, sample level, and then pass in the height map sampler. And that should do what I need, I think. Yeah, because it's UV and then this LOD. I think that's all I need. Interesting. This is why I hate LLMs. I might be better off just looking at Microsoft documentation for it. Because I'm passing not the right amount of arguments. What is it doing? Float 4. Okay, well that might be part of the issue. I don't know why it's doing that. I need that. That might be what our issue was. Where a reason was passing float 4 into that. Okay, cool. So I got past that issue. Vertex texture effect compiles now. I think that's the right thing. Yep. And all this if-def stuff, that's what we're going to get rid of. All the if-defs will be gone. We'll just use this syntax. Even if you're targeting old OpenGL, it'll under the hood fix it to be the old stuff as necessary. That's the goal. Just to make shaders a lot easier to work with. Okay, so guess while I'm here, let's work on texture array effect. Yeah, we're going to do the same sort of thing there to fix that. So same deal. First, let's get rid of this thing. I don't need that anymore. That might be all we need to do. Yeah, that might be it. Yep, and that fixed it. All right, so it's now building all these. So in theory, it should have them in here, right? So now my unit test should finally actually run. Go away thing. Failed, but hopefully for a good reason. Yep, create shader stage. Good. Well, maybe good. Okay. Description type sampler. Oh, it's because it's the sampler probably from the first stage. Yeah, this is the sampler from the vertex stage, I think. But is it? I mean, this format comes from us, if I remember correctly. Like when it creates the shader, it reads it out of our data. This is the data that we pack in the shader compiler. Weird, I did my test there. Okay, this is the pixel shader. That one had problems with that one too. I don't know what that extension is. Hang on a second, chat. I need to mute for a second here. Sorry about that. This cold has kicked my ass. It's more flu-ish, but it was kind of cold. Anyways, back to this. Useless documentation. This extension allows for the use of this extension in SmartView shader models. Like, okay, but what is it? Thank you. I don't understand what this is for. Aha. It bothers me that this is an error. I hate that I'm off on another tangent here, trying to figure out whether this extension makes any sense to add or not. I don't think the documentation is referred to me MonoGame's documentation. Not quite there yet. I think that's not the same kind of extension here. What's the original extension? Okay. I'm going to shits and giggles, just enable it and see what happens. Extension not present, okay. I've run into the problem before where I called it the wrong place. I think that's the correct extension for that. I wonder what in that shader triggered that though. Is it something like this that's causing it? I don't think so, right? No, that's all valid. I wonder why this particular shader is triggering that. Yeah, I'm just not sure where that's coming up. Just not sure where that extension is being required. Lame. Huh? What did I break? Let me fix that. Hmm. Definitely something in the code, in the compiled shader code, but I don't understand what is triggering that for the pixel shader for this in particular. It is this effect. Something about that pixel shader requires these two things. Doesn't hurt. Let's ask ChatGPT what it. You can use precise anymore. Interesting. I'm not seeing where that would be triggered. What could be causing that? I'm not sure. Not sure what could be causing that. All right. 2 hours are up. I need to get this thing. I need to wrap up. That sucks. Feels like we're getting close to getting at least one more issue done. We got stopped. That said, I guess I need to decide what I'm going to do for next time. So, lessons learned, I guess. Yeah, I don't trust most of its answers. I have to double check everything, but at least sometimes it cuts that through some bullshit from Google. Because Google also has answers that are from users that might not have the right answer either. You know, that's the difficulty. Anyways, so what I need to do before next Friday, or before the next time I jump on here, is I really need to sit down and understand the rules of MSAA attachments properly, so that I can more quickly kind of get that fixed, because the MSAA not working is a pretty big deal. We need to fix that. It's affecting a bunch of tests. This thing is something a little bit different. I'm hoping that if I can figure out what specifically is triggering it, and AI was suggesting that I look at the output from the shader compiler, and that might be the thing I really do need to do, is look at the details of the output of the shader compiler. It might tell me, so I'm pretty sure when we do that, I'm pretty sure when I compile it, and we're compiling it with, what tool are we using? I guess we are using DXC to compile it, if I remember correctly. Just double checking that. Yeah, we are using DXC to compile it. DXC will dump out a helper file, or will dump out like the results of after it compiled, and it'll tell us what extensions it used and stuff like that. I need to look at that in more detail and see if it's using some of these extensions we don't want it to. Also, I just don't know whether those GL extensions are something that are or those Google extensions are something that are very common and they're supported everywhere, or they're not. Do we need to avoid them like the plague and have it fail to compile the file because of it, or do we need it to support it, and is this a requirement we need to have? I don't know. I need to look closer at it and figure out exactly why those are being triggered, because if that causes that shader to, I don't think that did it actually fail? Let me double check. No, I mean, it's interesting. It gave me these validation errors, but it didn't fail to compile the shader. So I don't know if that means the shader's not going to work, or if it's just the validation saying like, hey, you should have these defined, but you don't. So it says it's a validation error, but is it really a warning that these extensions are not enabled? But is that warning telling me it's not going to run, the shader's not going to run properly, or is it just telling me that like, hey, these should be enabled, and they're not? And I guess it would really mean that the shader wouldn't work, I would assume. But more things to discover. All right, guys. Sorry, I wish I got through more issues today, but you can see like still some things to work out. I'm hoping that I can get some more time the next week to jump on this, but things have been pretty busy lately with being sick and then having all this weather here. But hopefully I can get a little bit more done and find some time to do a little bit more research on this over the weekend, and maybe come back with some specific fixes for the MSAA, and at least have an idea of where this issue is occurring, this extension, so I can get to the actual issues, which is the vertex shader. My guess is the vertex shader is not generating a sampler state the way that it normally does the pixel shader, and that's what's causing it to not be able to run the vertex shader test, or the vertex texture sampling test that we're trying to fix. All right, guys, I appreciate you guys being here. As always, be sure to follow us on Twitch and YouTube. We're always trying to increase our follower count there. And this animation Simon added in there, it's really annoying. It gets in the way. And also, MonoGame is always looking for donations. We got a really good donation from Concerned Ape last year. It's really helping us power through the next 2 years. We're in the process of putting up some more bounties that'll be for some cold hard cash for people that want to jump in and help. But also, which your help is always a good donation, but cash also helps us. We're trying to push to get one of us, probably not me because I don't have time, but either Dom or Simon, to be full-time. And to do that, we need to kind of raise our monthly donations. And we're going to be reaching out to some other publishers and devs to try to do that. But, individuals also help. So thanks, everybody. I will see you next time. Bye.